ग्लोकल लेखिका ह्या कार्यक्रमाची संकल्पना आहे एक देशी आणि एक विदेशी अशा दोन लेखिकांची ओळख. आत्ताच झालेल्या मुलाखतीतून आपण डॉक्टर मानसी ह्या आपल्याच देशातल्या आपल्या लेखिकेशी संवाद साधला. आता आपण ओळख करून घेऊया एका विदेशी लेखिकेची. नायजेरिया ह्या आपल्यापैकी बहुतांश जणांना अपरिचित असलेल्या प्रदेशात राहणाऱ्या ह्या लेखिका आहेत. फातिमा हुसैन एल-लादन. नायजेरियातल्या स्त्रियांचं जगणं, त्यांचा संघर्ष याबद्दल आणि लेखिका फातिमा ह्यांनी केलेल्या लेखनाबद्दल आपण जाणून घेऊया. फातिमा ह्यांना त्यांच्या वी आर ह्युमन ह्या पुस्तकासाठी अनेक पुरस्कारांनी सन्मानित करण्यात आलं आहे. आम्ही माणूस आहोत हा स्वर ठामपणे आपल्या लेखनातून मांडणाऱ्या फातिमा यांच्याशी दृकश्राव्य माध्यमातून संवाद साधला आहे लेखिका मेधा आलकरी यांनी.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, and fellow literature enthusiasts. It is our pleasure to welcome you to this special event celebrating a significant milestone, 50 successful episodes of Glokal Lekhika, a pioneer program conceived by acclaimed author Mrs. Sanjeevani Kher in association with Granthali. Released monthly on Granthali Watch, our YouTube channel, Glokal Lekhika showcases the lives and works of women authors from India and around the world. Through exclusive interviews available on YouTube and readings from their books, we provide an avenue to a large audience of such authors' writings. This evening, we present the Glokal Lekhika in similar format featuring two distinguished authors, Ms. Manasi from Kerala, who join us in person, and Ms. Fatima Hussaini El-Ladan from Nigeria, whose interview will be screened. It is my honor to introduce the accomplished northern Nigerian author, Ms. Fatima Hussaini El-Ladan. Ms. Fatima is a young, talented and multifaceted Nigerian writer, journalist, and critical analyst. She has established herself as a prominent voice in Hausa literature. Hausa is the language spoken largely in northern Nigeria. Ms. Fatima's educational background is impressive. She has a master's degree in Hausa from Bayero University, Kano. As a writer, Ms. Fatima has published several works, including short stories, novels, and poetry collections. Her notable publications include Education, the Milestone to Success, and Muma Yang and Ne, a Hausa novel on women's achievement. She has also written 16 novels and a film script. Ms. Fatima's professional experience spans journalism, broadcasting, and education. She has worked as a news reporter for NTA Abuja and NTA Katsina, and as a producer and presenter for a weekly Hausa TV radio program for the Katsina state government. Ms. Fatima has received several awards and recognition for her literary contributions, including the Best Female Writer Award and the Best Hausa Writer Award. She has also participated in various workshops and seminars, including the USAID Conflict Sensitive Journalism Training and the International Book and Arts Festival. Ms. Fatima, good evening, and let me greet you in traditional Hausa way. Inayani.
Lafiya.
Yaya Gida.
Lafiya.
I personally like these greetings where a concern for the family well-being is shown. Ms. Fatima, what are the major obstacles that women in northern Nigeria encounter, and how do you perceive these challenges? What could be the underlying causes of these issues?
Looking at the lifestyles of women in northern part of Nigeria, one has to reckon with the fact that there are many problems that hinder the progress and utilization of their maximum human rights. There are issues that need to be studied in order to adequately understand The sad story of women living in this part of the country, some of the outstanding issues faced by women in northern Nigeria can be outlined. Early marriage and limited access to societal autonomy. The girls are married off at a very tender age. This prevents them from enjoying marital advantages. It also exposes them to permanent body damage, such as urinary tract diseases, intensified labor while delivering. It also prevents them from having enough access to education, as culture does not favor the education of women in this part of the country. For example, there was a lady in Katsina who was married up at a very tender age to a man twins her age and who was against any form of formal education. After about 3 years without getting pregnant, the relatives of the husband started accusing her of foul play and forced him to take another wife. This exposing the lady into marital labor. Her husband completely ignored her and exposed her to so much labor. She grew old quickly and lost all the youthful appearance. So she was forced to remain in this house despite all she was subjected to. She automatically became the house help. This is a typical example of what is happening in many households in northern Nigeria. Due to the polygamous nature of the most part of the northern Nigeria and the societal norms, these girls exposed to high level of poverty experienced by their husband. In most cases, the woman takes most of the burden of the child upbringing. They also give birth to many children, all in the expense of their health and youth. Example, there was a young man who married a beautiful lady in Funtua, Katsina State. They both had ambition of getting adequately educated. He was ready to give his wife all the support to have her dream come true. When they were married, he promised her parents that her study will not be affected, and they were happy to give her hands in marriage to him. So, but when its parent learned this, his wife was going to the same school with him, they got annoyed in their beliefs. It was the man who should progress outside, as he is the one responsible for taking care of the woman. They called him and commanded him to stop her education. When he tried to explain to them the rationale behind having her educate, they got furious and told him that if he did not stop her from going to school, they will disown him. High level of poverty prevents the women from having access to adequate health care.
Thank you for sharing your insightful perspective on the challenges faced by women in northern Nigeria. The examples you provided are indeed eye-opening and highlight the need for urgent attention to address these issues. Given their social status in the society, can you share your insights on the level of participation of women in formal education and beyond? Which factor contribute to the existing trends, and how can greater inclusivity be attained?
On the issue of education, the formal education of female children is mostly considered a waste to many households, since the ladies are to be married off into other families. The parents find it a waste of resources and time to send their female children to school. There is also this notion that all the domestic responsibilities are shouldered by men. Therefore, education to boys is preferable. This problem has been the major setback in the northern region of the country. Some parents, most especially those living in remote areas, hold the belief that Western education is a taboo and undesirable in their community. Even the boys are sometimes deprived of formal education or education of any kind. The boys are trained in farming, and other less lucrative activities, instead of having adequate education while the girls are trained in domestic household chores. So in a nutshell, some pure communities do not even allow both the girls and boys to have access to formal education, even in schools, despite their fact that some girls are very brilliant, deprived of some certain rights. They are considered as minors, and that is why they are treated differently from the boys. You seldom find leadership roles in schools, even where they are given. You will find the percentage of the boys is remarkably higher than that of girls. This is in situation where the teachers more civilized, that the town people still they believe languages on their minds. Some families, due to financial constraints, can only afford to send some of their children to schools. So they decide to education the boys, which they believe in their minds that the girls will be married off someday and leave their homes. They consider educating the girls as a waste of both time and resources. In some part of the north, families may even be loud for educating their female children. And also in some communities, the environment is not suitable for women, as does not favor them. Naturally, girls need more privacy than boys. So if basic setup of the environment does not offer enough privacy to them, the girls find it difficult to stay in school. For example, where there are no adequate toilet facilities, the girls may have to use the available place to relieve themselves, which might prove inappropriate for them. This may affect their stay in the schools.
Your observations on the level of girls' participation in formal education seems to have changed a little since my days in Nigeria 20 years back. It is disheartening to hear that many parents still consider educating girls a waste of resources. Ms. Fatima, given the already limited educational opportunities to women, what are the levels of women's involvement in politics and decision making in northern Nigeria?
For example, a woman may contest for a political post in her community, and her people will be in support of her because they know her potential, but the culture and traditions in this part of the country will prevent many, even the women, from giving her desired support to make it to the post, even when she managed to scale through the election and got elected. She will be sidelined by her male counterpart in this sharing of portfolio. The women in this part of the country are exposed to the slavery of both the body and mind. They are caged in their little world of submission to the needs and went to their lord and masters. The men, they are forced to do unimaginable things and that are sometimes beyond their power. But they have to endure it all for fear of being considered outcast or disowned by their families. Here is a culture that has no respect for women. In the men are considered masters who need to be served. Women are sent to the farm in the morning to toil out in the sun and expect to prepare meals for their men and children when they return in the evening. The lives of women living in such communities are really difficult and stressful. That is one of the reasons that make them look older than their age compared to others living in another more favorable societies. There was instances where the men will live on commercial endeavor, leaving the women with little or nothing to feed and take care of themselves and the children. They will have to find a way to center for the welfare and upbringing of their siblings. Women's representation in politics in northern Nigeria is limited, with cultural and systemic barriers discouraging their participation. Even thought recently efforts to include women in decision-making processes show signs of progress.
Ms. Fatima, how does gender inequality impact women's pursuit of formal education and job opportunities in northern Nigeria? Do male writers adequately represent women's issues in their work? How can one foster a more equitable environment?
The impact of gender inequality in northern Nigeria is northern societies. There is the issue of education, which is deprived to considerable portion of the female children. This will also be the factor of employment. This factor is of two edges. One, the society hold contempt for women engaged in white-collar job, and two, some husbands do not allow their wives to work. Mostly the belief held by men in this part of the country that they have to do not equal right to their wives make it difficult for them to allow one of the wives to work while the others, who may not be adequately or not educated at all, are engaged in domestic duties.
Your analysis of the impact of gender inequality on education and job opportunities is spot on. Gender inequality notwithstanding, as an activist, which initiatives have you undertaken to support women in unfavorable situations? Can you share a specific case or experience?
As an activist, I have organized several initiatives to educate, empower, and provide skills to women for them to be self-reliant and reduce the certains of societal biases they suffer. Here are some efforts I made. Number one, I have campaigned on education and its importance to the women part in our communities. This was initially blocked by organization of power and some parent and husband, but my persistence saw me taught. I record a considerable success in sending many female children back to school. In some cases, I had to use financial aid to persuade some of the parents. It worked and it was worth its while. When I began to be recognized as an activist, many organizations were willing to work with me to help those women. I partnered with Agile Adolescent Girls Initiative for Learning and Empowerment. In tackling many problems encountered by women, for example, with the help of the agency, toilets were built in many schools, thereby giving the female children a suitable environment for learning. Many girls who could not afford books and school uniforms were helped out through my female education field. Found many people, especially women in higher places, donated generously to these causes. Many female children were returned to school. Thought my efforts were sometimes criticized by many, since our main focus was on female education and the factor, they almost become an obstacle to our cause. But that did not stop me because I financially found a way out. Even the state government, through the Girl Child Education Initiative, gave me support by providing necessary tools and paving way for access to the schools for censors and researchers. During Governor Bin Bello Masari administration, I managed to get government sponsorship to produce and present a radio and TV program titled Mata da Gwamnati, literally meaning government for women, where I scout out local government and present to the government and the governor's spot there with capital and equipment for suitable business in their localities. The program was airing in both local radio and television stations in Katsina State.
The initiatives you took are impressive. Your dedication to empowering women is truly inspiring. Northern Nigeria's unique cultural context influences various aspects of women's lives. How do education, security, social status, and religion intersect to impact women's lives?
They will have to find a way to cater for the welfare and upbringing of their siblings. It is also a part of a country with a culture and condemns adultery. For no reasons whatsoever does a woman has say excuse to indulge in sexual activities within another man, even when her children are on the brink of starvation. People in that area do not bother about the driving factor that pulls them into such acts. They will instantly be condemned. On the other hand, the men have the immunity to do so. Even when they are caught, they will scale out of it with their reputation intact. There is also the threat of insecurity in the northern part of Nigeria. First, it was the Boko Haram militants, and lately the threat of bandits and kidnappers that have invaded and dominate most rural areas of the region. The threat of girls in school that get more and more severe when the bandits start abducting schoolgirls in large number and turn them into their illicit bed partners. This led to closure of many female schools in the northern, thereby creating more gap between the educated boys and girls. For example, many female boarding secondary schools were closed in Katsina State due to the threat of kidnapping. They were relocated to safe school, which the kindness and the atmosphere for learning become more and more unsuitable. Those who cannot afford the migration and to abandon school and get married off an early age. Many other schoolgirls were forced out of school and had to even migrate from their homes to IDP camps due to bandit threats. In this situation, both the women and children are exposed to grave danger and discomfort. They end up prostituting and begging in the street. The tender age girls are raped and abused just for them to get what to eat. Some of them even migrate to strange places without knowing the whereabouts of their parent. The children watch their fathers killed and their mother and other grown-up sisters raped and abducted, leaving them behind with no one to take care of them. The girls who manage to escape had to find refuge in other more urban societies where they have to find any available way of survival. Sometimes they had to carry their younger one along, and the task of supporting themselves and those kids provide too much. The ending of prostituting and taken to the streets begging for alms. There is also the problem with sending girls to another place to study. Many parents find it difficult and inappropriate to send their female children from home to schools in other towns. This is for fear of societal belief that girls should not be given liberties and independence. Where there is limited resource, the girls also engage in indecent activities to get extra income to meet up with their spouses. It was generally believed that when girls are caged at home and deprived of the freedom to go out at will, when they go to strange places, they will exploit the freedom gained and engage in undesirable acts. This may be true, but it happens in very rare cases.
Miss Fatima, your novel Muma Yaya Ne is like a mirror which shows the society its true face. Is that what prompted you to write the book? And how did the society respond? How are women's literary contribution perceived in Nigeria, and what type of literature are most popular?
Mrs. Alkari, my novel Muma and explores a theme that is resilient and educational. It portrays struggles faced by women in northern Nigeria, where the societal response was remarkably positive, with many readers appreciating its emphasis on women's empowerment. However, there was some resistance from conservative quarters who felt the novel challenges traditional norms. We are also human. Ms. Alkari is a novel that tells a powerful story. It is about a young girl who is abandoned by her parent to go through life alone amidst so many unfavorable challenges. It talks about important issues such as getting adequate education and the struggles women face in northern Nigeria, and how women are sidelined in politics, resisting their ability to contest for political posts. In northern Nigeria, the political arena is dominated by men. That is why so many readers found the novel likable, because it emphasized on the importance of empowering women and elective their values in politics, business, and governance. The story is very sad but inspiring one, as it shows how strong and resilient a woman can be, even in the face of great and unfavorable challenges. By reading, we are also human. One learns more about the lives of women in northern Nigeria, and even paves way for important way to be devised on how to make their life better. Most of the main readers observe the feminist in silent inclination, the writer's point of view. So my work of literary was considered as damaging to the cultural norms. So they don't accept it, but very few among them who are more sympathetic to the women's cause endorsed it is tool which express the thought and mind of female in their environment. Mrs. Alkari, in northern Nigeria, Hausa literature often referred to as littattafan soyayya, romantic novels. It's particularly popular. These stories focus on themes of love, morality, and societal issues, often resonating deeply with local audiences. Mrs. Alkari, male writers in northern Nigeria, occasionally tackling women's issues, but their perspective often differ, with some genuinely advocate for gender equality. Others reflect traditional or societal norms in their works. Women's literature is sometimes judged unfairly in literary circles, often dismissed as less serious or overly emotional. However, this is gradually changing as women authors gain recognition as they often address critical societal issues. Thank you very much. Nagode.
Thank you, Ms. Fatima, for sharing your insightful perspectives on the challenges faced by women in northern Nigeria. Your experiences as an activist and writer have provided valuable context to this important discussion. I appreciate your candor and passion for promoting gender equality and empowering women in your community. Thank you again for your time and contributions to this important conversation. Goodbye. Good day. Thank you.